Hello, you amazing friends from a beautiful, sunny 32 degrees Sydney. This is Edward Deere here with the legendary Sue Geelan. How are you today, Sue Geelan?
Hey, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Really, really good. Albeit a bit hot. But
Well, I hanged out at Bondi Beach yesterday.
I saw the photo, which is really good. That was really nice.
Now, Sue, honoured to have you with us. And to our fans across the world, if you are watching, please like, share, and comment. If you're here live, say hello. If you're watching the recording, please say hello. Sue Geelan's a wonderful friend of ours. She is a relationship counsellor that really focuses on saving marriages, but also helping people build amazing futures. And we've had some many great chats. I said to Sue Geelan, we've got to keep this all PG for the LinkedIn audience. So I just want to apologize to our fans. It won't be as hot as spicy as you like because I like having a LinkedIn account. Sue Geelan, please, over to you. Tell us what you've been up to. Tell us what you think about love, relationships, marriage, and the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Wow, that's a tough one. For me, relationships are really, really important. Why I got into it per se, and it's going to be a bit off the cuff. I mean, not off the cuff, a bit personal. Yeah, very soon. Is that I came from dysfunction. I had an abusive father, a very authoritarian mother. And, even though mum was authoritarian, she was still kind of mum. But just when I was 4 days before my 21st birthday, she was killed in a pedestrian accident.
I wasn't aware of that. I'm so sorry, Sue. I'm very sorry to hear that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Mm-hmm. And this is hence where the little bit is, because for the 2 years after she died, it felt like I was literally, no one cared. I felt like no one cared whether I lived or died. All right. I had no one that I sort of felt belonged to, or I belonged to them. All right. At that 2 year time. And that's when, when you've had nothing. And then I met sort of David at, he happens to be my husband. Met David.
Good looking husband, if I can add to that, Sue Geelan.
So I met him when I was sort of 23, and I just sort of said to him, look, I don't have the emotional energy for more than one relationship. We've got to make this work now. How are we going to make this work? And that's where the sort of start of it is, because when I left home at 15. The whole thing is, what the hell was that? What did I just live with for 15 years? And so I started sort of picking people's brains and kind of got information. And then when sort of Dave and I got together, it was then about, okay, now how are we going to make this work? And so that's why I'm sort of passionate about relationships, because having none and nobody, and I know single people, you're amazing, you're wonderful, and if you choose to do that, that is totally, totally fine.
But can I jump in there, Sue? And I'm just being honest, right? I'm just being honest. I know a lot of fantastic single people.
Amazing.
But they don't want to be single. They're single not by choice. They're looking for that special person. In fact, I know a lot of single people who will say to me privately, be it gay, straight, or whatever, Ed, if you know someone good for me, send it my way. I don't know one single person that is actually happy being single.
Yeah. But, if you sort of choose that, this is, what I'm sort of saying and stuff like that is not a diss to you guys. This is more that is sort of the fact that, I've chosen to focus on couples and, couples in relationship and so forth. So, when David and I talked, we just put it into practice, and we like had an amazing time, and we brought our kids up in it and so forth. And so, 10 years ago, someone I was actually working with sort of said, how do you do it? How do you last for 25 years? I said, look, we've been married a year and we are struggling. And so that's when I sort of, started sharing some of the stuff that David and I were doing and the processes and just the tools and stuff like this. And she sort of said, yeah, you should write a course on this.
So just on that, just on that, and I just want to just jump in. Say hello to fans. We've got Shahid with us. Shahid, welcome. To those watching, hit that like, share, and comment. Say hello. If you've got any contributions, pop them in the chat. I've got my phone here that I'm keeping an eye on with all the contributions.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I want to ask you, Sue, when you first got with Handsome David, what were some of the key strategies you put into place to pave the way for such a great marriage?
I think one of the things is that we talked. For the first 3 years, we literally talked, and it wasn't about, it wasn't about sort of, past stuff or anything like this. It is talked about what are we going to do. And as we were walking around in our day-to-day lives, going to shopping centres and things like this, we would see incidents of other people and so forth. And then we'd sort of say, hey, did you see that? Hey, yeah, I did. Okay, what would you do in that situation? What would I do in that situation? Now, as a team, what would we do in that situation? So we started to pull in, and our focus was on relationship and trying to get the best tools that we could to be able to, to really work things out and really, really sort of find out what we want. And listen, one thing that I sort of, one thing I wanted and to mention is one of the most important things, I think. David and I were walking down the street, and right in front of us was an older couple. They must have been in their 80s or something like this. And they were holding on hands. They were kind of laughing, and they were putting their heads together, and they were sort of really having a good time. And I just sighed. And David says, what's that sigh for? And I said, did you see that couple up there? He said, yeah, I did. He said, that's what I want us to be. I said, I want us to be courting our whole lives. It's not just, I said, that's what I want us to be. And so he said, yeah, I said, I like that too. And so I said, okay, so how are we going to get there? What do we need to do? What do we need to put in place?
Okay.
And so, for any couples out there and things like this, if you're struggling, it's sort of like, guys, you've got to know your why. What are you looking forward to?
I just want to jump in with a funny story. Now, this is 25 years ago, of course, before I met wonderful Lassie, right? I had a girlfriend there's like, we're together for about a year or two. And I remember I kind of compare her to my cat today. She did not like holding hands. She wasn't that intimate. And nice lady, but she never quite got into the relationship, if you know what I mean, right? Like, well, we were together, but she didn't have that sort of intimacy. She didn't have that sort of day-to-day intimacy there. And I remember what happened was eventually I ended the relationship. I'm sort of like, hang on, it feels like I'm hanging out with someone at work. It's not actually what I'm looking for in a relationship. And then she told me to beat it. She was really, and I got it fine. Like, hey, Ed, I was Eddie in those days. Hey, Eddie, you can beat it and up yours. Awesome. Okay. Good luck to you. Take care. Sorry, it didn't work out. Then what was interesting, a few months later, she reached out to me and she wanted to get back together, basically. And I said, well, why? Why do you want to get back with me? Like, don't you hate me? And she goes, I want to apologize to you, Eddie. And I'm like, what for? Like, if you don't like me, you don't like me. No, not at all. She goes, I was letting my previous traumas block me having a good relationship with you. Right? And whilst I didn't get back with her, I totally accepted her. I actually had a lot of respect for it. It's like, hey, well, look, we're not for each other, but I think you're an amazing lady, and thank you for that. Tell us a bit about previous trauma and how it blocks our relationships, because I think tragically, to this day, this lady's still carrying that trauma that's blocking her from living a great relationship. Tell us all about that.
Well, I think a lot of times that is what, mental illnesses is about these days. We sit and back to the past. We think about the past. We dwell on the past and everything like this. Now, guys, I want to sort of share with you a little gem. All right. And why the past is killing us. And the gem is this, all right? Here's our beautiful brains up here. And our brains cannot tell the difference between what you imagine and reality.
Yep.
If you've imagined something, then it is real to you. So if we go back to past issues and past problems and past traumas and past this and past this and past this, that if you're doing that today, then it didn't just happen 15 years ago, it's happened again right now with all the associated emotions. And if we're stuck in this cyclical thinking of past, we are reliving it and re-traumatizing ourselves from the past because they're not even in their lives. You know, the person who hurt you is probably not even in your lives, and yet we are carrying them around. All right. And it's killing us because if we're stuck thinking past and reliving and emotionally attachments to that issue, it's killing our ability to experience love, joy, and happiness. How can you do all the fun stuff of spending time with people and, just living in the moment and stuff like this when we keep reliving the past and it becomes real?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And just so you know, I didn't say this to you, I'm actually a master in NLP. I'm a master NLP practitioner, and I couldn't agree with you more. As a guy who's also, again, I've got PTSD, so I've got a mental illness myself, right? Neurodivergent. Interestingly, and I remember back to just this lady as an example, right? The lady I was talking about before, right? I see so many people today is they blame their current partner for what a previous partner did to them. In other words, someone else did the crime, but they're making their current partner do the time. Is that because they're carrying that trauma and then, in a way, projecting that trauma onto their partner? Am I right or wrong there? What do you think?
No, totally. And that's why we get into dysfunctional relationships, because we're carrying the baggage of the past. And that's why I do what I do. By not going, as a counselor, by not going back to the past issues because otherwise I'm just re-triggering you. If you tell me your story and, partner A tells me their story, partner B tells me their story, you've just relived it in my space and I've now traumatized you again. You didn't like it the first time. Why do you want to talk about it again? So, when I work with sort of couples, I'm sort of saying, look, I'm not saying sweep it under the carpet and, and it's gone. No. What I'm saying is let's just pin it. Just pin it. Because at the minute you are too in dysfunction with each other that you don't have the emotional calmness to be able to deal with that. Let's build a new relationship, one that you haven't had before. Let go of the issues and build a new one. And then once you've built the new one and put all the good stuff where we love, we play, we laugh, we talk, we share, we do all this sort of stuff, then unpin that. And then oftentimes it will be null and void because you've put the good stuff in place. Oftentimes you don't need to revisit it. But if you do, at least you're in a good space emotionally and mental to be able to unpeel that.
And I suppose you're right. I think what you're saying is amazing. In other words, I suppose when you're thinking properly, you might revisit the past, but you're doing it more for a learning experience, which is not dwelling in it and then judging your whole life by that past experience. I remember this another interesting one. Again, long time ago, very pre-Lassie, when I used to have hair. I used to have hair, actually, believe it or not. Right? And I was with this young lady. When I was a young man, I was with this young lady, and she cheated on me with a friend, right? And she came, and what it was, and she came back to me, and she goes, and I found out that she cheated. I said, look, I know what you're up to. And she goes, but you're not angry, Eddie. My name was Eddie in those days. You're not angry? No, I'm not angry at all. Not angry. Yeah, all good. But I had no feelings for her anymore. So what happened was, when she cheated on me, I wasn't so much, oh my God, she cheated on me. It's like, I sort of just lost my connection to her, right? And she came back to me. She says, "Oh my God, Eddie, I'm so sorry." And it's like, yeah, it's okay. I forgive you. But I'm just not interested in you anymore. You're just not what I'm after. And she couldn't have that. She couldn't handle it. She would nonstop hound me, try to get me back in a relationship with her. And eventually I just said, oh, like, it's time to move on. And I just ended up blocking her. Like, I had to ghost her, right? So she just wouldn't take no for an answer. Infidelity, right? There's a lot of it going on. It happens to, I've been the victim of infidelity many times, right? Tell us all, again, in a very LinkedIn friendly manner, tell us all about infidelity. Why does it occur? How do we deal with it? I just love to hear your monologue on that taboo that we're not allowed to talk about.
Okay. Let me tell you one sort of, one statement. Okay. We do not ever get into a relationship. Who can I have an affair with today?
Yeah.
We just don't do that, guys. Why it happens and it occurs is that there is a fundamental issue with the relationship as a whole. And infidelity, in my humble opinion, is the result of what we're not doing in that day-to-day. We're not having connection. We're not having, we're not having connections. We're not sort of talking very much. We're not spending time. We seem to have fights all the time. And if that is happening on a regular basis, then we feel disconnected. And so when an opportunity sort of, not even an opportunity, just someone kind of shows us some compassion, some empathy, some sympathy, and then it's sort of like, oh, wow, like I'm being heard for the first time in months, decades of things like this. So what do? We kind of start to spend time. We start to talk. Leads to other things until you kind of wake up and go, oh, crap, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, so it's sort of like, it's kind of like, I get it. It's sort of like, I'm gonna go a bit extreme here. So I'm an ex-AFP officer, right? Australian Federal Police. And murder is a very common example of this, because when you talk about spousal homicide, right? No one gets married and says, I'm going to murder my spouse, right? But one thing will lead to another, leads to another, where the situation can occur, right? And I agree with you. Like, no one gets married and no one enters a relationship saying, I want to cheat. It's
not ever.
It doesn't happen. No one does it. But it seems in a way, I'm not condoning it, but it seems in a way it happens by accident. It's just something that just occurs over time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people go too far before they realize what they've done.
Yeah, majorly so. And, when people, do have, just go, oh, crap, then, it's not, look, guys, it's not the end. Nothing's set in stone. There is forgiveness and stuff like this, but we can't do the same thing that we've always done, right? We have to create a new relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and again, that's what I do with my Loving We program, is to create a new relationship. All right. Because people sort of says, well, I want to know why it happens. Well, I usually say to, sort of my clients, you may never know why it happens. It simply might be just simply that, we're so emotionally compromised, for weeks and months, and we're not talking, we don't have it. And, and then opportunity just sort of slides in, and we do something stupid because we're in high emotion. And when you're in high emotion, how many good decisions do you make?
Yeah. It's like drink driving is done under high emotion, isn't it?
Very much so. Right. And when you're in high emotion, logic's gone, and again, I'm not sort of saying, I'm not excusing, because we still have choice and stuff like this, but I'm sort of saying that it's not simply infidelity. It's not simply someone's gone and cheated. No. There is something fundamentally wrong with your relationship because let me ask you a question. All right. Let's talk business for a minute. Okay. How many mechanics do you go to if you've got a car?
One. I use the same mechanic all the time. Like,
how many doctors do you go to?
A couple. 1 or 2?
Okay.
Pretty much.
Right. How many hairdressers? How many how many dentists do you go to?
Oh, 1. Yeah, get it. 1. You pick your supplier and use them.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, when we're in business, if we have, you know, if we get a good product and we get to have an amazing service, then there is no one else. You'll go to that one person, you know, in business. A relationship is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Guys, you know, if you are, you know, because a relationship is an invitation. Invitation is, will you share your life with me?
Yeah.
If that invitation as me as a, you know, product, and if I'm not doing customer service,
Yeah.
what's our client going to do? You know, our client being our partner, you know, they're going to be loyal to us, they're going to build relationship with us, and there will be no one else.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because now, by the way, I'm not suggesting I'm a relationship coach, but I do a lot of relationship coaching, right? And this is not me. Like, I'm a LinkedIn networking leader, right? However, I think I've told you this to your face too, and I remember you laughing in my face when I told you this. Every day, I get asked relationship questions. Quite often, it's women. There's a majority of our clients women. Quite often, every day, women will ask me relationship questions. Every day, right? Every day. And it's interesting. And so I hear all sorts of I'm a bit like the hairdresser without hair who run a business network. So I hear all sorts of stuff from women of all ages, all races, all sexualities too, right? Or, you know, all that type of thing. And interestingly, I hear this a lot, where this tragic situation where one person ignores their partner for whatever reason. Partner then starts, you know, rightly or wrongly, they start a relationship with someone else. And then all of a sudden, that person is there getting angry about it, right? And I'm sort of the guy that unfortunately comes in and says, look, what's done is done is done. They've already done it. You got to make some decisions. However, you know, yes, they're in the wrong, and I'm sure a jury would find them in the wrong, but how did you contribute to that situation? And very often they'll turn around and say to me, male, female, whatever, they'll say to me, to be honest with you, Ed, I didn't completely look after my partner. You know, so yes, my partner's wrong and I hate him and all that, but when you actually sit down with them, they'll admit that they lit the fuse. At some point, they lit the fuse.
Precisely. You know, we haven't done, you know, a customer service to our partner. We haven't treated them, you know, sort of the best. And, you know, and that's one of the things, you know, one of the things I sort of say in relationship, right? Usually we've got to change the mindset about relationships. Once someone sort of says, or even, you know, in a relationship or even kind of married, so once they say yes, sometimes we feel now that we own them.
Oh, yeah.
They've said, yes, I own you now.
Yeah, no.
We've got to change that, right?
Terrible.
And when we change it to sort of say, you know what? It is a privilege that you have agreed to share your life with me. If we feel if it's a privilege, then we'll treat our partners a different way than what we do if we own them.
Yeah. They're not cats. It's not a couch or a cat. It's a human.
But it's sometimes it's that mentality of that they're always going to be there. Well, you know, divorce rate at 50%, sort of, you know, around about the 50% sort of says otherwise. Yeah. So, you know, it's being, look, guys, it's being. I usually sort of say, you know, my Loving We program answers this question or this statement. In order to have an amazing we, you must have a strong sense of me.
Yeah, true. Starts with us, doesn't it?
It starts with the me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's getting yourself right to be able to have, you know, that invitation of will you spend your life with me attractive by me being the best person I can be.
Yeah. And I suppose that the good one is the start of our conversation is trauma. If you're carrying all this unresolved trauma and you're projecting that onto your partner, A, it's horribly unfair, and anyone would agree with that, right? It's horribly unfair. And B, it's also your fault for not dealing with your trauma.
Oftentimes, yes.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And you know, again, another little. I had a beautiful client, because I had a beautiful client sort of says to me, when I sort of said, "Oh, look, I've just got this quote that I really, you know, that I developed," and I said, "I'm so proud of it." And she then came and said, "Oh, is this a Sueism?" And I cracked up laughing. I said, "Yes, yes."
Yeah. Or you can say, you know
So
what?
I'm
I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. You should do that. You can threaten to sue people. There you go. That's good, actually.
So this is my Sueism, is that stop letting your past
Yeah.
define your future.
Yeah. And I'm just going to be honest here. You know, I used to, and I was the bad guy. I'm just going to be honest here, right? And I'm quite ashamed by this, but I'm just going to tell the truth. Like, when I was in my 20s, I had a lot of, and I'm not blaming the government, I'm blaming me, right? So I carried a lot of PTSD from my childhood and my government injuries, and I didn't properly treat them, and I would screw up, my fault. I'd screw up fantastic relationships with wonderful ladies because I was carrying trauma and I was projecting that trauma onto them. Right. And it wasn't until I became a homeless veteran, which I deserved, by the way, that I sat there and realized, hang on, I was the bad guy. You know, I did the wrong thing, right? I did the wrong thing. And I remember some years later, I actually bumped into one of my old partners, and and they're married with kids, very successful. And I just turned around and said, I'm just sorry, very sorry what I did. And I just told them straight to their face, look, I'm sorry I did this. I was just carrying trauma and projecting it. And she turned around and says, oh, I did the same thing to you, Ed. It's okay, right? And it's funny, I say to anyone watching, as a guy who's had a lot of trauma, it's not your fault. I'm not blaming anyone for having the trauma, but you need to deal with it. You need to resolve it because, yeah, I've messed up a lot of really good relationships. And when I met Lassie, I was determined to end that cycle, resolve the trauma. Right, which is amazing. And I just want to say quickly, we've got my friend Ashley Raj with us. Ashley Raj, we love you. Joe Quim, if you just come in, hit that like, share, comment, say hello. We've got my friend Ashley Raj. Sorry, Sue, what you were saying before I monologue.
No, that's okay. I was just sort of wondering, has anybody wants to ask me a question? You know,
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people are watching, but no one's asking questions. I think because of the taboo nature. So, like, if I do a live on LinkedIn, there's going to be like pages of comments. I think because this topic, people are like, ugh. So I think it's like, I think the taboo nature, I'm sure people will message you privately, but I think taboo nature is no one's going to say anything publicly.
I know. And that's probably my issues. But look, guys, let me tell you. Let me sort of tell you that we get attracted to someone. We get that kind of the body thing that happens when we get attracted to someone. That kind of tells you something. You know, that body thing sort of says that, you know, you and I in the miracle of love or whatever it is has spoken to each other and we're both kind of connected. You know, with regard to whatever has happened, it's not set in stone, right? Because if you want something bad enough, and that is your why, you need to know your why. And your why has got to be so strong that it's more important to you than almost eating and breathing. Right? And if you want something bad enough, you will put in the necessary steps that you need, both of you together wanting the same thing, that you'll put it in together with the right tools and the right strategies for you to get to that. But you need the right tools and strategies. And it's almost not taking it's kind of getting back to the basics. It's, you know, it's fixing yourself as a me. And then through that process, we start to fix the we. And that's what I do. Right. In terms of, you know, and that's why I've been so successful. So if anybody's looked at my Google reviews, you will see that I've got 5 stars, and someone actually sort of said, that can't be right. That must be trolling or something like that. So they went and had a look at it and went, okay, no, it's not. They're real.
Yeah. And And if someone doesn't give you 5 stars, I'm going to send my Arab friends from Bankstown after them. So there we go. that was a joke, maybe. Oh, and we got Ashley Raj with us. Big wave to Ashley Raj. Ashley Raj says, "Hello, Edward and Sue. Thank you for a great session." Yeah, Ashley Raj is a great friend of mine. We go back many years. Ashley, we love you and right behind you. Actually, I should connect you to you two. Will get along. So, Sue, we've been together for half an hour. I just want to say a big thank you. And thank you to all our fans for watching. Sue, please close with, we'd love to hear your closing thoughts. And please tell everyone how they can get in contact with you to take the next step and how you can help them. Over to you, Sue.
Okay. Well, you can contact me by my website. Fortunately, my name, as you probably would have seen on my LinkedIn yesterday, I talked about my logo. But metaneo, all right? Metaneo is actually an ancient Greek word that means thinking differently. Okay. Because you can't, Einstein said the definition of insanity is you can't do the same thing you've always done and expect a different outcome. It's not going to happen, guys. So if you keep doing the same thing in your relationship and you're wanting and expecting a different outcome, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. You've got to put new information, new tools, new strategies, new ways of thinking, and to be able to create an amazing one that you want to live the rest of your life with. All right. So contact, look at my website, metanao.com.au, spelled METANAO. You can, and in there we'll have all my contact details, my emails, everything like this. But here is a Sueism that I would love. That this is what
we're going to sue you. We're going to sue you. I love that. We're going to sue you.
Sueism.
I love it.
It's a Sueism.
Yeah. I prefer to sue people. I love it. It's awesome. Sueism. We're not suing people. It's a Sueism. There we go.
It's a Sueism. And I'm actually quite proud of this because I just want you to think of this, all right? Is that we fall in love with who they are. We divorce or separate for what they do or don't do.
That's deep, Sue. You've messed with my head, and I'm sure you've messed with everyone's heads in a good way. So you got me thinking, Sue. There you go. That's why you're a master level relationship counselor and leader. Excellent.
Yeah.
Sue, thank you so much. And to our friends watching, please smash that like, share, and comment. You can also, if you want an introduction to Sue, feel free to let me know. I can introduce you to her or reach out to Sue to her directly. Sue, thank you so much. I know you're a busy lady. You got clients stacked up today. I just want to say a big thank you on behalf of us. Appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Ed, for asking me. And it's been amazing to meet you and meet all the people on LinkedIn and the LinkedIn community. I'm sticking around. I'm hopefully doing content. Not hopefully, I am doing content. And
You're doing content right now. You are right now doing content right now.
I know.
Right now.
And so I'll be using my trusty U-Butte whiteboard to just sort of, give you some tips and tricks and to make, to choose to make your life and your relationship amazing, because, having none and having an amazing one with my husband now in November, I'll actually be 36 years that we've been together. And I can honestly say we are like the couple that I saw when we first started dating. And remember, I came from dysfunction, so had a lot of baggage that we had to sort of work through. And we worked through it all. And through him, literally through him, I wouldn't have been the person I am today because of, year 10 dropout, a country girl, vocabulary down to the yin yang, him up here, me down here.
I've been there too. I've been there too. I spent a bit of time in the foster system, and believe me, I had some English problems.
So, if anything else, it would be a big shout out to my amazing husband who has supported me for the last 36 years. and just, just the amazing life that we've had, and where we've come, and the two beautiful girls that we've had together. And guys, I just want to share it with you. Share the tools, the strategies, so that you can have your own amazing relationship.
Incredible. We love you, Sue. Keep up the great work.
Thanks.
Bye all.